You don't need to spray paint your face on a wall to give off main character energy. But it doesn't hurt. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another Glacial Geek video. I'm Phil, the Glacial Geek, and today I want to talk about something that I've actually had a difficult time kind of putting into words this topic. Not because it's like the most controversial, not because it causes the most trouble out in the Warhammer sphere, but it's something that was kind of put in my mind into stark contrast with the recent announcement for the Space Wolves releases. And it also, as I thought about it, kind of exemplified one of my biggest gripes about the world of Warhammer and 40K, and also just wargaming and the hobby in general, because of what it means. So the problem that came to my mind, or problem that came to my mind, was the concept of named characters. So, you know, you saw with the new Space Wolf release that they're releasing a ton of these named characters that are looking so super cool. So you've got Logan Grimnar looking like this gnarly, weathered veteran, just like so much gravitas and just like grim, like anger within him. And you could see that in that model, and it looks so cool. I am so excited for that model. It looks awesome. And I'm excited to see it built and painted on a ton of Space Wolf tables. And you also have, Niall Stormcaller. You have Arjak, Mr. Rockfist. He's also getting a new sculpt that, like, those both have that same, intensity, that same gravitas that you want from a Space Wolf, but also retaining a lot of the character that they had from their previous models. And it's exciting to see these, in my opinion, very exciting to see these. But they are named characters, and there's only meant to be one of them in the universe, because there's only one Logan Grimnar, there's only one Niall Stormcaller, there's only one Mr. Rockfist out in the universe of 40K. But you will see them on lots of tables, and maybe even facing off against each other if Space Wolves pair up in a tournament, or if two friends are just big into Space Wolves and are brilliant. And this is where a lot of the contention that exists with named characters comes to, is that there are people out there that say that you shouldn't be playing with named characters. The named characters, why does every battle have to have the importance that, like, Azrael shows up to every battle? He doesn't show up to every battle. Why is he on every table where a Dark Angel is? Why am I looking around this tournament and I see 1,000 Guillimans out here marching across here when it's just the one Primarch that's supposed to be leading these forces? And the whole idea in the lore is that he's like a very he's a very rare resource that only shows up to the most important events. And the reason I think I've been having a hard time kind of mentally working myself around this is that the argument against named characters feels like it's coming from a place of wanting other people to do what you want to do in this hobby. And obviously, if you've listened to any of my other videos, that to me is a big problem. So in my opinion, the big problem that comes out of these named characters is not the named characters themselves. It's not the prevalence of the named characters. It's this idea that people get that you should only do the hobby the way that I want to do the hobby. There are plenty of people that come into this hobby because they've read the books, they've read the lore, and now they want to give it a shot to play on the tabletop. And they've read stories of Logan Grimnar, they've read stories of Azrael, they've read stories of these named characters, and they want to play them. They want to play as them. They want to put them on the table, and they want to have them be their representation in the 41st millennium. And in my opinion, that's great. That's awesome. I don't go to play Halo and not want to be Master Chief. Like, I don't go there and go, well, Master Chief is his own guy. I'm going to do my own thing. It's like, no, you want to play the main characters. And I get that a lot of these things, are coming from they're based around those characters and you're telling the story. But like, why why wouldn't you want to be able to play that? If that's where you're coming from, that's the place you're coming from, why wouldn't you want to do that? And why wouldn't you want other people to be able to do that? You know, if you choose not to run named characters because you want to tell your own story, you want to build your own lore, you want to build your own chapter, you want to do whatever it might be, that's awesome. That is awesome and incredibly cool for you to do. And I think that you absolutely should feel and follow that urge to follow that world of creativity that you can create by making your own named character, basically. Making your own person into your own lore and your own world. But to try to express that you don't think other people should have access to them, to me feels short-sighted, because Warhammer 40K, unlike most other war games that are out there, is so intrinsically wrapped in the lore that to try to diverge them entirely would be, in my opinion, folly. You know, I think one of the best things that Warhammer has going for it is the decades of lore that they've done, the Black Library, being able to build out these stories, being able to build out these thoughts and concepts and giving life to the world that you're fighting in and building in. Because if you completely separate them, you're basically now back to just like another sci-fi game. And if that's what you're looking for, you can do that. And there are plenty of other games out there that if you're looking for a particular kind of mechanic, do that and excel at that. And that's why they have like the miniature agnostics games. And, you know, Uncle Adam talks about this a lot, how he loves miniature agnostic games. And I also have become a big fan of miniature agnostic games. But I don't look at Warhammer 40K because of its agnostic nature. I look to Warhammer 40K because of the lore, because of everything that comes around, the trappings of the grim dark future of the world, of the far, far future. And that, to me, to try to separate that and say that you should only be playing these generic sci-fi things, to me feels disingenuous, you know? And if I'm going to be the general of this army and I've got the main character energy because I am me, I want to be able to direct the engagements that I think are most important. And if they're the most important to me, they're going to be the most important to my army, and they're going to send their big boys, because you don't keep Azrael in reserves if this is the most important thing that the Dark Angels are doing at the time, because they are, because I'm running them, you know? And to me, that feels like the crux of it all, is that it's a different way of viewing and different look of what you're trying to get from the game itself. And to try to limit how other people do it is, in my opinion, wrong. It's to tell people that they shouldn't run named characters is the same to me as telling people that they have to run named characters. That the only way you could run Dark Angels is if Azrael's leading it. You know, like, that's not going to appeal to everyone, and I don't think it should happen. You know, I think you should have the option to do it. And having these named characters in the game provides a number of different things to the players, the game players, and also just the people who are collecting painting minis, because they're able to now explore these models in ways that you can't with a generic character. Because if you're only going to have one on the table, it is unique in and of itself in your army. You don't need to do anything else to it because it is unique. You're only going to have one Logan Grimnar. So even if he looks like very particular, which he does, that new model looks very particular, it doesn't matter, because you can only ever have one in your army, and you don't have to have the freedom to customize it. Whereas if you're having a generic character that can be in there as many as 3 times, you're going to want the space and the platform and the canvas to create something new and unique each of those different times, so that I can tell the difference by looking at it, which of my Lord Exultants are going to have like different enhancements, or are leading different units, or doing different things. I want to be able to look at this and be like, oh, well, my Space Marine, this Space Marine captain needs to be different from this Space Marine captain. This sergeant, this lieutenant needs to be different from this lieutenant. So if you make them very unique and very individual and mono, it becomes hard to get that kind of diversity of look between your different models. And you don't have to worry about that with the named characters, because you only have one. And because you can only have one, they can go wild. The sculptors can go wild and make some of the most beautiful models that are coming out in Warhammer 40K, bar none. I think the most beautiful models that are coming out in Warhammer 40K are the character models, are the named character models, because they have that kind of more of an open book to be able to make and sculpt these in a way that they don't have to worry about what the end user is going to do with the model. They just make a really cool looking model that they can have in their army, and they don't have to worry about those differences, because you don't have to decide, you don't have to differentiate between your two Azraels. You got one Azrael, and you now have him looking rad from the sculptor, and you don't have to worry about doing that yourself, which to me means that we get these like really rad looking models that we can be excited about, that we can have on the table as a centerpiece for our army, and that can do just like some super rad things without having to worry about how's it going to look different from my other one, you know? And I think from the hobby perspective, that's amazing, and that's great, and that's why GW can keep bringing us these awesome, these awesome sculpts. Because for all you can say about GW, you can't really talk about their sculpts being bad. You can't talk about their models being bad. They come out with amazing models. They come out with amazing sculpts, and that to me is exemplified in these named characters, And then from a gaming perspective, because you can only have one, it gives you the ability, that gives the game designers the ability now to give them some cool, interesting little tweaks on rules that you wouldn't want to have replicated multiple times in an army and spread out across the battlefield. You just have it in the one guy that's going to be doing his one thing there. That named character can do some cool things, but it's only the one character. And because you can only bring one, it becomes a lot easier to balance them out with points than it would be if you could have three of them. Whereas one of them is fine, three of them is bad. If you increase the points so that you're never taking three, you make taking the one more difficult, even though it wouldn't have affected things. Whereas the named characters, you only can take one. So they can balance those points out so that it's only what's going to matter for taking that one character. So from a mechanical standpoint, I don't think there's an issue with balance with named characters, because they can easily balance them out. And GW has, especially in this edition, taken a much more active approach to balancing the game and balancing trouble characters, trouble units, trouble anything. And they've been doing that very specifically, and they've been doing it in a very effective way, in my opinion. Like I said, more so this edition than other editions, but hopefully going forward, that's the way they're going to do it. So if you only have one, it becomes a lot easier for the designers to be able to balance them so that they don't become an issue. And honestly, the units that have caused the most mechanical issue to the balance have been the units that you can spam. So the ones that you can take multiples of, because of the fact that you can take multiples of them. So in that case, it's from a mechanical standpoint, it's even better that you have these units that can only take one, because it becomes easier to get them into a place where they balance better in the game itself. And then from the hobby perspective, you get models that look way cooler and way more interesting, way more detailed, because of the ability to just have the one be the concern, as opposed to how are you going to make this look different across three of them in your army. So from my perspective, we should have even more named characters, because I love that. I love the named characters coming out and coming and bringing new kind of tweaks on lore, tweaks on everything, like Master Lazarus coming in, and Grandmaster Lazarus coming, or not Grandmaster, the Master Lazarus from the Dark Angels coming in, and kind of being that presence of like the Primaris character, like specifically Primaris character, not character who went across the rubric Primaris. It's like, a Primaris character that comes in, and he is interesting in the lore, like talking about how he interacts with the rest of the chapter, and like his journey through that is awesome. And now you have a character that does something slightly unique on the table that can represent him. And I love that. I think that's amazing. And I think we should get more of that, because again, from a perspective of mechanics, it's not an issue. You can balance it out with points easy enough. And yeah, sure, there may be 1,000 Guillimans out there, but why should you have to have only one when we've got 1,000 players that want to play him? In my opinion, I think everyone who wants to play him should be able to, and that should be part of the fun. And if you don't want to take any of these named characters, you are not forced to, because you don't have to. And it also holds it open where you can, if you like the rules of a certain character, but you just don't like the name because you've come up with a different kind of like chapter idea, suddenly the Grandmaster of your chapter has the same rules as, as Marneus Calgar. And you can just make your own with that and run them as Marneus Calgar. So I think that having these characters who are restricted to one in a list that can bring new ideas and new mechanics and new twists on the game, I think, to me, should be wanted and should be warranted and enjoyed by players, and not frou-frued on or not looked down your nose at. Because anytime you find yourself looking down your nose at someone else enjoying this hobby, you're in the wrong. They're not in the wrong. They're enjoying this hobby, and that's the way it's supposed to be. This is supposed to be fun. This is supposed to be enjoyable. And instead of looking down your nose at someone else enjoying the game, why don't you try to find out what's going to make you feel that same kind of enjoyment? So I think that's because this is like the third or fourth time that I've recorded this, because the first couple times I think I tried to, I didn't grasp onto that fact, that hunk of the issue is that sense that this argument, that this problem exemplifies the negativity that you can find in this hobby that I'm trying to do my best to try to like quash. Because we're all here having fun, doing a hobby that we enjoy. And that needs to be the goal. Not telling other people how to enjoy it, not telling other people what they should be doing, telling other people that they should have the space and they should have the ability to find the joy in this hobby the way they want to. And you do too. You do too. You should be able to find the joy in the hobby and do it the way you want to without having to control other people finding the joy and enjoying the hobby their way. So that's why I think I had trouble with this one, is not because of the topic and not because of the topic in itself, and not because of me struggling with coming up with where I stood on it. It was more that I think I was not really digging deep into the fact that I think the crux of this whole problem comes down to other people trying to tell other people how to enjoy this hobby. And that, I know, keeps coming up, and that's usually at the end of the day where things become a problem. Painting our armies in a specific color, that should be your choice. My Raven Wing are green, and there are a number of people who are like, that's stupid, it should be black. And it's like, I don't care, and neither should you, because they're my army. If I was forcing you to paint your Raven Wing green, that would be a problem. But they're my models, they're my army, and I'm going to paint them how I want to and enjoy them the way I want to. And you should too. If you want to paint them Codex specific and you want to put on every single marking that means that they could have come straight out of a GW book, awesome. I love seeing that. I love seeing it when people put in that kind of attention to detail. That is not for me. For me, I want to follow my heart and I want to do the things that I find enjoyable. So I'll paint my Deathwing bone color because I think it looks rad. I'm going to paint my Green Wing green because I love green. But because I love green, I'm also going to paint my Raven Wing green because I like green better than painting black. And at the end of the day, find the joy for yourself. And the second you find yourself telling someone else how to enjoy this hobby, pause, take a step, take a breath, and think about what it is that you're asking of them. And would you want them to tell you how to enjoy the hobby? So if you say that, like, oh, well, you're spending too much time on the competitive nature of this list, would you want that tournament player to come to you and say, you shouldn't be playing this game, that way. You can't bring that unit. They're no good. Don't bring them in that list. And there are plenty of people who try that and do that, and they're just as wrong. Because at the end of the day, if you find yourself telling another player without them asking for advice, looking for an opinion, if you start telling another player, another person, another hobbyist, another person enjoying this hobby, that they're doing it wrong, that they're doing it in a way that shouldn't be done, you are the one that's doing it wrong. Because you should be focused on what's bringing you joy. You should be focused on what you can do to have more enjoyment. And if you are feeling bad about this hobby in such a way that you're not finding joy, you need to take a break and take a step back and figure out if this is what you want to do or if this is just what you thought you should be doing because you always had or because your friends do it. But if you're not finding joy in this and you just find yourself being angry at everyone and everything, you know, I don't want that for you. Nobody wants that for you. You should be able to enjoy this hobby. And if this hobby is not bringing you joy, listen, it's not for everyone. My wife has tried painting minis, does not like it. She sticks to her like 7-foot canvases that she paints fine arts with, you know, and that's fine. I'm not going to make her do it because that's not for her. And if it's not for her, it could be not for many other people out there. So just take a moment, a little bit of self-reflection, and ask yourself, is what I'm asking of another person, if they were trying to enforce the opposite on me, would I be happy about that? Is my enforcement of my ideas actually going to bring me more joy? If the answer is no, then don't do it. And take a step back and go, how do I find the joy in this hobby? And if the answer is doing a different hobby, playing a different game, doing a different system, doing a different kind of like genre, then maybe that's what you have to do. But you have to take that moment, you have to take that step, you have to take that breath of self-reflection and actively think about what is going to bring you the joy. And if you're doing that, you're going to find yourself far less likely to try to tell someone else how to enjoy this hobby because you're going to be too focused on finding the joy yourself. So, the next time you find yourself complaining about what other people are doing in this hobby that they're finding fun with, don't. And don't try to prevent other people from enjoying the game. Don't try to prevent other people from having fun. Do what you need to have fun, and let other people do what they need to have fun. And let me know down below what you think about this. Do you think I'm just full of beans and I just have nothing to say about this and that I'm completely wrong and that named characters have ruined 40K? Let me know down below and carry the conversation on down there. Let me know why, you know, and tell me why you think that's true. And be cognizant of the fact that maybe what you're saying is that it's true for you and that, you know, it's not necessarily universally true. So think about that and maybe have that conversation. Maybe you never thought about that, you know, carry that conversation down below because honestly, this community is the reason that I'm able to do this. 10 years on, I'm still making videos and it's all because of you, the viewers who have shared, liked, commented, and subscribed to my channel over the 10 years. And it keeps me going, and I'm very thankful for everything that you guys bring. So keep those conversations going. I love to see those comments, and I read every comment. I try to respond to all the ones that I can, and I like having those conversations. I like to be able to talk with you guys. That's important to me. So keep that going. Also, as you're probably well aware from this thing that's been down here, also from the beginning of the video, I am a member of the Army Painters factory team, and I am fully cognizant of the fact that I would not be a part of their factory team if it wasn't for you, my audience. That has gotten me to a place that the Army Painter wants to work with me. And it's brought a lot of really great things for me, and I wanted to make sure there was a way for me to give back to you, my viewers, that in a substantial way that I could help with you guys, because I know I wouldn't be here without you, and I want to be able to give you something for this. So I negotiated in my contract to make sure I got a discount code with them that I could give to you guys. So if you use the code FactoryGeek5 at checkout at the Army Painter, you can save yourself 5% off of your purchases there. So if you're getting one of these new named characters and you're looking for some new paints to paint them with, go over there, get yourself 5% off. And if you are a member of my Patreon, first, thank you so very much for the support that you give this channel. The Army Painter wanted me to have something to give extra thanks to them for their more direct support of the channel. And so if you're on the Patreon, there is a 10% code behind the paywall there at the Patreon to save yourself some even more money if you're going to go shop at the Army Painter. So I hope you guys have all found this interesting. I certainly have. I have been Phil, the Glacial Geek, as always. And until next time, stay safe and have fun.